My name is Luciana, I'm 34 years old, and I work as a housekeeper in São Paulo for one of the richest men in Brazil. When Roberto handed me a black credit card with no limit for 3 days, I thought it was a joke. But what I did with that money changed everything between us. While the other women bought designer clothes and expensive jewelry, I made a choice that would expose who they really were, and almost cost me the love of my life. I still remember the day everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning in São Paulo, and I was cleaning Roberto's penthouse as usual, humming off-key while dusting the expensive furniture. I'd been working for him for 2 years, and honestly, I loved my job. Not because of the money, though it paid well, but because Roberto treated me like a human being, not just hired help. That morning, he stormed into the apartment looking completely defeated. His expensive blazer landed on the couch, and he collapsed into his leather chair with a frustrated groan. I'd seen him stressed about business before, but this was different. This was personal. "Luciana, I can't take it anymore," he said, running his hands through his dark hair. "Last night's dinner was a nightmare." She took selfies with me, called me her favorite ex, and tried to toast to our reconciliation. Am I a man or just a rising stock in the market? I knew he was talking about Isabela, his ex-girlfriend. I'd met her once, all designer clothes, perfect makeup, and a smile that never reached her eyes. She always looked at me like I was part of the furniture. "Mr. Roberto," I said carefully, "maybe you just need better company." He looked at me then, really looked at me, and something shifted in his expression. "You know what, Luciana? You're right. And I just had an idea. A crazy idea, but maybe exactly what I need." I should have known right then that my simple life was about to get very complicated. Because when Roberto got that look in his eyes, that mix of determination and mischief, something big was coming. And this time, it would involve 3 credit cards, 3 very different women, and a truth that would shake everything I thought I knew about love and money. The next morning, Roberto called me into his office. On his desk sat 3 elegant black envelopes with silver writing. My heart started racing. Was he firing me? Had I done something wrong? "Relax, Luciana," he smiled, noticing my panic. "I'm not firing you. Actually, I need your help with something unusual." He explained his plan. He would give unlimited credit cards to 3 women for 3 days. Isabela, his ex-girlfriend, Patrícia, his executive assistant, and me. No rules, no instructions, just complete freedom to spend however we wanted. Then he would observe what each woman did with that power. "But why me?" I asked, confused. "I'm just your housekeeper." "Exactly," Roberto said, his eyes intense. "You're the only person in my life who never asked me for anything. You never treated me like a trophy or a bank account. You call me Mr. Roberto like you're slightly bored, and you once threatened me with a wooden spoon because I messed with your risotto. I want to see what you do with unlimited power in your hands." I stared at the black card like it might explode. 3 days. No limit. The possibilities were terrifying and exciting at the same time. "Are you sure about this?" I asked. "This feels like something that could go very wrong." "It probably will," he admitted with a half-smile. "But I need to know who really cares about me and who just cares about my money. Will you do it?" I took the envelope, my hands trembling slightly. "Okay, but if this turns into some crazy drama, I'm blaming you." "Fair enough," Roberto laughed. "The experiment starts now. You have 3 days, Luciana. Use them wisely, or don't. That's entirely up to you." As I left his office, I had no idea that my choice would change both our lives forever. The black credit card felt heavy in my pocket as I walked through the streets of São Paulo that afternoon. I could buy anything: designer clothes, expensive jewelry, a luxury spa day like Isabela would probably do. But every time I thought about spending money on myself, I felt guilty. I ended up at the neighborhood grocery store, the same one I'd shopped at for years. Maria, the cashier, smiled when she saw me. "Luciana, what brings you here on a Wednesday?" "Just picking up some things," I said, grabbing a cart. But instead of my usual shopping list, I started filling it with supplies: rice, beans, canned goods, pasta, milk, diapers, baby food. Then I went to the toy section and added coloring books, crayons, puzzles, and stuffed animals. Planning a party? Maria asked as she rang up my purchases. Something like that, I smiled, thinking about the children at Casa de Esperança, the orphanage where I grew up. I'd been volunteering there every Friday for the past 2 years, but I'd never had enough money to do something really special for the kids. My next stop was the party supply store. Balloons, streamers, face paint, a clown costume. Yes, I was really going to wear a clown costume, and art supplies. The total was climbing, but I didn't care. This wasn't about me. It was about 20 kids who deserved to feel special. My phone buzzed. A text from Roberto, "How's the shopping going?" I typed back, "Let's just say you might be surprised." "That's what I'm hoping for," he replied. By the time I finished shopping, I'd spent thousands of reais, but my heart felt fuller than it had in months. Tomorrow would be the party at Casa de Esperança. Tomorrow, those kids would have the best day of their lives. And if Roberto thought I was crazy for spending his money on orphans instead of myself, well, that would tell me everything I needed to know about him too. The party at Casa de Esperança was chaos, beautiful, wonderful chaos. I stood in the courtyard wearing my ridiculous clown costume, surrounded by 20 screaming children, trying to make balloon animals and failing spectacularly. "Miss Luciana, that doesn't look like a dog," 7-year-old Miguel shouted, laughing as my balloon creation deflated in my hands. "It's an abstract dog," I defended myself. "Very modern art." "It's trash." Little Sophia giggled, and soon all the kids were laughing with me, not at me. This was why I loved them. They were honest, pure, without the fake politeness of Roberto's world. I was in the middle of attempting another balloon when I noticed him. Roberto stood near the entrance, trying to look casual in jeans and a simple shirt. Clothes I'd never seen him wear before. His eyes were wide as he took in the scene, the decorations, the food tables loaded with hot dogs and snacks, the kids running everywhere with painted faces. Our eyes met across the courtyard. He'd followed me. Part of me felt invaded, but another part, a part one didn't want to examine too closely, felt happy he was here. "Mr. Roberto?" I walked over, still in my clown costume. "What are you doing here?" "I heard about a party," he said, smiling. "Thought I'd check it out. Need any help?" Before I could answer, Miguel ran up and grabbed Roberto's hand. "Are you Miss Luciana's boyfriend? You're very tall." Roberto's face turned red. "I'm her boss." "Boring," Miguel declared. "Miss Luciana deserves a boyfriend who brings her flowers, not just money." "Miguel," I scolded, mortified. But Roberto was laughing, really laughing, in a way I'd never heard before. "You know what, Miguel? You're absolutely right," Roberto said, looking at me with an expression that made my heart skip. "Maybe I should work on that." The party continued, and Roberto surprised me by rolling up his sleeves and helping serve hot dogs. Watching one of São Paulo's richest men clumsily assemble sandwiches for orphans was surreal, and oddly touching. "You're doing it wrong," I told him, trying not to laugh. "Too much ketchup." "I have an MBA from Stanford," he protested. "I can handle a hot dog." "Your MBA is showing," I teased. "You're overthinking it." By the end of the afternoon, we'd fed all the kids, played games, and I'd even convinced Roberto to let the children paint his face. He looked ridiculous with a butterfly on his cheek and stars on his forehead, but he wore it with pride. As we cleaned up together, he asked the question I'd been dreading. "Why here, Luciana? Why spend the money on this?" I stopped wiping tables and looked at him. "Because I grew up here, Mr. Roberto. Casa de Esperança was my home from age 2 until 18. These kids, they don't need pity. They need to know someone cares. That they matter." His expression changed completely. "You grew up here?" "My mother left me here when I was a baby," I said simply. "She was young, scared, alone. She left a note saying she loved me but wanted me to have a better life. Sister Teresa raised me. And when I aged out at 18, I promised myself I'd come back and help whenever I could." Roberto was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, softer, more real. "And the other women? What did they buy?" "I don't know. Designer clothes? Jewelry? Spa treatments? I shrugged. Things for themselves, probably. That's normal, Mr. Roberto. I'm the weird one who bought hot dogs and clown costumes. No, Luciana, he said, stepping closer. You're not weird. You're extraordinary. And I've been a fool not to see it before. The gala event happened 1 week later at São Paulo's most exclusive hotel. Roberto had organized a charity fundraiser for Casa de Esperança, and somehow, I was supposed to present the project to 200 rich people. I'd never been so terrified in my life. I can't do this, I told Roberto backstage, my hands shaking. Look at me. I'm a housekeeper in a borrowed dress. These people eat at restaurants where I can't even pronounce the menu. Luciana, breathe, Roberto said, taking my hands. You know these children better than anyone. Just tell their stories. Be yourself. Myself got me kicked out of a fancy restaurant last year for using the wrong fork, I muttered. He laughed. Then use the wrong fork tonight too. I don't care. Just be you. I walked onto that stage feeling like an imposter. The spotlight was blinding, and I could see Isabela in the front row wearing a dress that probably cost more than my yearly salary. Patrícia sat beside her, both of them watching me with barely concealed amusement. Good evening, I started, my voice shaking. My name is Luciana, and I'm not used to speaking to rooms full of important people. But I'm used to speaking with children who matter just as much. I told them about Miguel, who drew superheroes on every piece of paper he found. About Sophia, who sang in the shower thinking nobody could hear. About the twins who'd just arrived, scared and alone. And as I spoke, I forgot about my fear. I forgot about the designer dresses and judgmental stares. I just talked about the kids I loved. Then disaster struck. I gestured too enthusiastically and knocked over a waiter's tray. Champagne splashed all over Eduardo Mendes, one of São Paulo's most powerful businessmen. The room fell silent. My presentation, and possibly my entire future, was drowning in expensive champagne. I'm so sorry, Mr. Mendes. I stammered, watching champagne drip from his expensive suit. I didn't mean to. I can pay for cleaning or... To my shock, Eduardo Mendes started laughing. In 30 years of charity events, this is definitely the most memorable presentation I've attended. The room relaxed, and I somehow finished my speech. The donations exceeded all expectations. But my relief was short-lived. 3 days later, Roberto called me into his office with a serious expression. There's been an article published, he said, showing me his tablet. My blood went cold as I read the headline, Housekeeper accused of embezzling charity funds. The article claimed I'd inflated costs and pocketed the difference. It was completely false, but it was everywhere, online, social media, even local news. Roberto, you know I didn't, I started, my voice breaking. Of course I know, he interrupted. But then he hesitated. But I need to be careful about what I say publicly. I need all the facts before making an official statement. That hesitation, that tiny pause, shattered something inside me. You need facts? You were there. You saw everything. Luciana, I'm trying to protect you. Protect me by believing me immediately, I said, tears streaming down my face. Sister Teresa believed me instantly. The children believed me. But you need more information. I grabbed my bag and walked toward the door. I grew up waiting for people to choose me, Roberto. My mother didn't. Foster families didn't. I won't wait for you to decide if I'm worth trusting. Luciana, please. Goodbye, Mr. Roberto. I left that penthouse and didn't look back, even though my heart was breaking. 2 days later, Roberto discovered the truth. Isabela and Patrícia had fabricated everything out of jealousy. He called a press conference, exposed them with recorded evidence, and publicly declared his feelings for me. But I wasn't sure if trust, once broken, could ever be fully repaired. When he showed up at Casa de Esperança with the children urging me to give him another chance, I had to decide, was love worth the risk of being hurt again? 6 months later, I woke up in Roberto's penthouse, our penthouse now, to the smell of burning pancakes. I smiled, knowing my husband was attempting breakfast again. Roberto, amor, step away from the stove. I called, rushing to the kitchen. He stood there looking sheepish, surrounded by smoke. I was trying to surprise you. You surprised me, I laughed, kissing him. With a potential fire. Our kitchen table was crowded with Miguel, Sofia, and 3 other children from Casa de Esperanza for our weekly Sunday breakfast. We'd started a permanent foster program, and our home was never quiet anymore. It was filled with laughter, chaos, and love. Miss Luciana, Miguel asked, are you happy now? I looked at Roberto, remembering everything. The credit card test, the champagne disaster, the painful separation, and the beautiful reconciliation. He'd learned to trust without hesitation. I'd learned that love sometimes means risking your heart completely. Yes, Miguel, I said, taking Roberto's hand as the children giggled around us. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Our journey hadn't been perfect, but it had been real. And that made all the difference. This is my story of triumph. Do you think I handled it correctly? If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Share your thoughts in the comments. I can't wait to hear your perspective. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to Memorable Stories and Overcoming, where we share inspiring stories of triumph and justice every single day.